Hi everyone. In this video I'll be showing you how to find the maximum and minimum or smallest or the largest value that is present in a column in MySQL database by using Spring Boot and with the help of Postman. So let's get started.
You need to just go to your browser and you need to search for Spring Initializer. You will be getting this first link over here, Spring Initializer. Just click it, and here you need to add the dependencies as well as the name of your project and the versions. So I will go with Gradle Groovy, that is fine. Language is Java, and let me just now change the name as Spring Pro, something like that. You can just give it to everywhere. Yeah, you can just paste it and you can just change it here as well. Yeah, this is totally up to your choice, and jar is fine, and Java 17 works for me, so these are fine now. So we will be using some dependencies over here. So just click on add dependency, and first thing we need to search for Spring Web. Just add it, Spring Web, and I will click again add dependency, and next one is going to be the Spring Data JPA. So it's going to be Spring Data JPA. Here we will be having, and I will add the MySQL driver as well, MySQL driver, and final one is going to be Lombok. The reason why I'm adding Lombok is because we don't want to manually create the getters and setters or the constructors. We can just use the annotations present inside Lombok. So these are basically the four dependencies that I'm adding. So this is the entire stuff. All right. So once you're done creating all these, you need to just click on generate. So it will be getting downloaded in a form of a zip file. So here you can see, right, Spring Pro. So now let me just go to my downloads folder. So here you can see it is in a form of a WinRAR zip file. So just right click it and just click on extract files and just click on OK. So it will be getting extracted over here itself. Yeah, so here you can see this is the file. We'll be having source and main.test. So this is the .java file over here. Yeah. So this is the file. So now let me just open this particular folder as a project in IntelliJ. So for that, just go to IntelliJ IDEA, and after opening IntelliJ IDEA, you need to go to File, I need to go to Open, I need to go to Downloads, and here we will be having the Spring Pro, the Spring project. Okay, just click on that and click on OK, and just click on this window. So at first it will take some time to load, so just be patient. I think it will take some time for indexing as well as the Gradle to build. So just be patient at first. So here you can see it will be showing you updating index and importing Gradle. So Gradle build. So these two processes are really important, and you need to wait for some time until both the processes are getting completed. So here you can see now all the processes have been now completed and there is no loading or anything like that. So first thing what we need to do is we will be just going to my main Java, and here you can see this is my main application over here. So now we will be making some changes in application.properties. So for that, where you need to go is you need to go to resources, and here you will be having application.properties. Just double click it, and here you will be having the application.properties. So first we will be adding our local URL of our MySQL database. So it's going to be spring dot data source dot URL equal to jdbc colon mysql colon / localhost colon 3306 / and next you need to specify your database name that is going to be present in your MySQL workbench. So I will just name it as new DB, and you need to specify colon 3306 because this is not like the random port number. This is the port number where MySQL workbench is running. So be specific to that. So once you're added your database, you need to create this particular database in MySQL workbench. Otherwise, it will throw you an error. So I will just go to my MySQL workbench and create this particular database new DB. And if I just now refresh it over here, I'll be having the database created. So this is fine. And next thing we need to specify the username and password of your MySQL database. So let me just now copy this thing. So it's going to be spring.datasource.username. I need to specify the username, which is root for me. This may vary from person to person. And again, spring.datasource.password. So you need to specify your password. Let me specify mine. So this is fine. These are some of the credentials that we need to give over here. So after this, we will be using some connections or properties for our connection. So it's going to be spring.jpa.show-sql equal to true. So this command is basically like used to display the SQL command in our console. So I told you like we will be creating a table at the end. So the creation of that particular table and its SQL command will be displayed at the console. So that's the reason why we are adding this particular property. And next thing are going to be some of the default properties. Okay, it's going to be spring.jpa.generate and -ddl equal to true. Next one is going to be spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl.auto equal to update. And final thing, let me just now copy this and paste it. Dot properties dot hibernate dot dialect equal to org dot, you'll be having hibernate dot dialect dot ISQL8 dialect. Okay, so here to be careful, M is capital, Y is small, SQL or caps, 8, D is capital and dialect.
So once you're done adding all the values in application.properties, you need to come to the folder where you have your main Spring application. Okay, so by default the name would be com dot, it will be your project name. Okay, so you need to just right click over here and we will be adding like 4 folders or directory. So the names of the folders is going to be entity, repository, controller and service. Okay, so it will sound confusing. I will just create them first. So it's going to be new, and here we will be having an option called as package over here. Just click it. So first I will be creating the entity folder. Okay, just capital E, type entity, just hit enter. Okay, so after that we'll be getting this entity. So don't make any changes. Okay, don't rewrite that particular thing. Okay, so again after right clicking I will be going with package. So what I meant was here we'll be having a dot. Okay, so don't just remove that. And next thing is going to be the repository. Yeah, and next one is going to be controller and the service. It's going to be the service. So it's not necessary to have like this folder structure, but it's always good to implement. So it's more easy to read your code. In companies generally they will have this way. So it's always better to practice having separate folders for each purpose of your file. So the final one is going to be our controller. So it's going to be controller. Yeah. So first we will be starting with the entity. So entity basically will have the Java file in which we will specify our table as well as its columns and its data members. Okay. So just click on entity, right click, new. You will be having this Java class. Click that. I will name the class name as student because I'm just going to like input student details as a demo purpose. Enter this class name. You can enter whatever you want. After that, just click on class and hit enter. So here we will be having the student class created for us. So through this class, we will be able to add properties and column names for our table that we are going to create in our MySQL. Okay. So just imagine this as a class representation of a table. Okay. Basically that's it. So first let me add the column names. Okay. After that I will go and annotating the particular main class. So it's going to be, I will have here 3 columns, which is ID, mark and name. So it's going to be private, have it as int ID. So this is going to be like the primary key, the unique key. Yeah. So for representing it as a primary key, we will be having the ID annotation. Okay, ID, just hit enter. And I will also add a column name. Okay, so we can specify the column name manually as well by using the column annotation. Like if you want the default ID to be the column name, you can also have that. I will just have this. So just open bracket, have name, and I will just give it as ID. That's it. And for this ID to be auto incremented or auto generated value, we can just have the generated value function. Okay, yeah. So these are some of the standard stuff that everyone uses for a particular unique ID in the column. So next one is going to be the mark and name. So it's going to be private. It's going to be of type int and it's mark. Yeah. And same thing, column is going to be the loan annotation column, and name is going to be students mark, like that. And the final one is going to be the name, private. This is of type string. string with capital S, and I will put name, and it will also have the column annotation. Okay, column, I will have the name equal to, I'll just go with the standard name, that's it. Yeah, no worries, this is now fine. So these are some of the columns that we'll be having in our table. So after doing all this, we need to also add some main annotations to our student class. Okay, so the first annotation is the entity. So entity is like we will be referencing Spring Boot that this particular class corresponds to that particular table present in MySQL DB. Okay, so that's what the entity annotation does. It's important to have that. And next we will be using the data annotation. This is present inside Lombok. So whenever we are creating a class, we need to have all those getters, setters, as well as so many things are there. But by using this data annotation, this will automatically create all the getters and setters for each and every data member for our class. So always better to use Lombok and this data annotation. So after this, we will be also having the table. Okay, so this table annotation exactly similar to column annotation, by through which we will be referencing our table name. So this particular name that we will be specifying over here is going to be the table name in our MySQL DB. So I will just have a name it as, I will go with student underscore DB, something like that. Yeah, so this is now fine. So after this, we can also add the constructors. So it's going to be capital N, I guess. Yeah, the no org constructor. So same thing, we also need to create a constructor and initialize the values. So we need to have an empty constructor as well as a constructor with the data members value. So these are some of the standard stuff. So by using these annotations, we can like bypass those things as they are automatically done with the help of these annotations. So it's going to be all logs constructor. Okay, yeah, some of the standard things. So now we are good with our entity class. So after this, we will be creating a repository interface. So it is not a class, it is an interface. So which is also used to basically like reference to this particular entity. So it is like this. Okay, every entity of a table in Spring Boot will have a repository of its own, through which we will be able to execute queries and other stuff. Okay, so just imagine it as that way. So just come to your repository folder. Now we are done with our student.java. I will just close it. Okay, just close this as well. Yeah, and I'll just come to repository, right click, new. It's going to be of Java class, but it's going to be of type repository. Okay, I will just name it as student repo. Okay, it's also always good to have in camel case. Just hit enter, and if you want to name this as student entity, you can also do that. Okay, just name it as student entity. It's your total choice. It will be more like readable and understandable if you have that way. In case of like you're having more number of files, since I'm having only one file, I will just name it as student. Okay, so that is good. So now let me come to my repository, and here you can see, right, this is an interface. Okay, this is not a class. So student repo, first thing we need to have extends. Okay, this is a keyword, extends, and after this we need to add the JPA repository, which is like an inbuilt class of Spring Boot. So it's going to be JPA, capital J. Okay, capital J. We will be having the JPA repository over here. Just hit enter. So through this way we will be able to perform all the CRUD operations to our database or entity. So just expand this. Okay, yeah, we will be having this greater than lesser than symbol, and within that we need to specify our class name of our entity. So my class name over here is student. Okay, so you need to specify that first over here. So it's going to be student. You will be having here, yeah, student. Here it is. Okay, you need to specify the class name, and this will get automatically imported, and a comma, and here we need to specify the data type of the primary key of our student class. So student class is over here, and the data type of our primary key is of type integer. Okay, so you need to specify the data type of the primary key. So it's going to be obviously integers in 99 of the cases. Okay, 99% of cases. So just specify the data type of the primary key. It is integer. Okay, so that's it. Now we are done with our repository, and entity is also done, repository is done. So next thing we have only service and controller. So what service basically does is that it allows us to perform the post, save, put, fetch, all the operations. Okay, so I'll just go to service, right click it, and new, and this time it's going to be a plain Java class, not any interface or something. So I will just type it as student service. Always good to use camel case. Okay, use camel case everywhere. Okay, and I will just now hit enter. So we'll be getting the service. I will close the repository, and in the service we will be able to access the entity through the repository variable. Okay, So the repository object, we can't access an entity directly, okay? So only with the help of the repo, we will be able to access the objects or data members or the functions that are present inside our entity student. I hope that made sense. So in the service, the first important thing is we need to annotate the service, okay? So it's going to be at service annotation to reference it as a service class. So after this, we will be creating our reference variable or object of our repository. So as I told you earlier, we will be only able to access the student class details through the repository object, okay, with this help of the object of student repo. So I will create that, okay. So it's going to be private, the name is student repo, yeah. So I will name it as the small s, okay, student repo. Yeah, this is a naming convention, okay. Whenever you are creating a variable, the first thing should be the class name itself, and after that the variable name should be like the smaller letter of that particular class name itself. So it's like a common naming convention used. So we will be able to access only the values present in our main student class with the help of this variable or object, okay. Also you need to annotate with this auto void, okay. Yeah. So this is used for basically like dependency injection or referencing our repository variable over here. So it's you need to use this auto void, otherwise you will be getting an error. Okay, so now we are done. So next thing we will be creating a function for saving or posting the data, okay, because that is our main aim in this video, okay. We need to post and save data in the database. So for that we will be creating a function. So it's going to be public. You need to create it as public, okay, because we will be using this function in our controller, okay. Controller will be having a Java class and we will be using that particular function over there. So it's always good to have our function as public. And the return type of this particular function is going to be of student, okay. Student means this particular class, okay, this main entity class. So it's going to be of type student. And next is the name of our function. I will have it as save details. You can name it as anything you want. And the function is going to have only one parameter. That parameter is going to be an object of the class student. So what I meant by object is that it's going to be like these things: ID, mark, and name. So these are like data members, and this particular parameter will have all these values as an object inside it. So it's going to be student. Yeah, student. I will go with the same naming convention, like with a small s after that. Yeah, student. So after this, we will be returning it, okay, because since we have used student over here, we have to return it. Return, we'll be using the repo name. As I told you, for accessing the values or saving anything, we'll be using the repo object or variable. So it's going to be return student repo dot, and here we'll be having so many functions, okay. So in that we'll be using the save. So this basically saves our data in our table, as simple as that, save. And inside that we will to pass our object, okay, student, this variable, okay, this variable over here. So this student will have all the details like ID, mark, and name in our object form, and we are just saving it in the table. Simple. So now we are done with our entity, and the final thing that is left is our controller. So the main purpose of controller is defining the path and the operation. So here you can see, right, let me go to my postman. So here you can see that we will be having so many operations: post, put, fetch, and delete. There are so many operations, and we will be also having this particular path or the route, okay. Add student. For post we will be having, for put we will be having put, delete we will be having slash delete. So we will specify all these details in the controller. So just right click controller, new, we'll be having the Java class, select it. I will just name it as, what is a student controller? Yeah, simple controller, like that, class, okay. Everything is class except repository, okay. And we'll be getting the student controller over here. And we will begin by annotating the controller class with rest controller, okay. So this is to specify that this is a controller class. So after that, we will be creating a service variable, okay. So here in service, okay, in service, we had an object of student repo. Exactly similar to that, in our controller, we will be having an object of the service class, okay. So service class name is student service, okay. So I will just go to my controller. So it's going to be private student, I think it's capital S, yeah, student. We'll be having the student service, okay. So we'll be creating a variable of our service, okay, student service. I hope that made sense. This one, student service, yeah. And you can name it. After that, it's going to be the same thing, the small s student service, yeah. And we will also annotate with auto void, exact same thing for referencing it, yeah. So we are done. And after this, we'll be creating another function So here the main route or the path for our post operation will be specified. So as I told you, right, this particular path needs a function. Okay, every path will have a function to its own. So I'll just come here. The function, as I told you, is going to be public. Okay, in most of the cases, public, and it's going to be of the type student. Okay, student as usual, the main entity, and it's going to be, I will have it as add details or post. Okay, post details. Okay, post details. That's going to be the name, and after that, this will take an argument. Okay, so this argument is going to be of type student. Okay, same student. Okay, same student everywhere, student, and the smallest student. Okay, but we need to also add a particular annotation which is at request body. Okay, so the reason is because we will be sending data over here. Okay, we will be sending data from our postman. So where is that? This raw. Yeah, so we'll be sending a JSON data from our postman, and with the help of this request body, that particular data will be fetched by the student object. Okay, so once we are hitting that particular path, this particular data will be fetched by this particular function. Okay, so I will like add the path and it will make more sense after that. So in this function we'll be having at post mapping. So to reference that, this particular function will handle the post operation in this class or controller. So we need that post mapping. So in general, we will be using post mapping for post operations. So this will take the path. So I will go with add student. Okay. So now I hope it will make more sense. So this add student will come over here. Okay. Will come over here after this port number slash that particular add student will be coming here. So when I send the data as a request, this particular data will be then caught by this particular request body of student. Okay, then this student will have basically these details. So I hope now it will be clear for you. So in this function, exact same thing, we have to return it. Okay, so it's going to be return, and we'll be using this service, student service. So it's going to be student service dot, and with the help of the student service variable, we will be accessing this particular function inside our student service. You know this function, right? Save details we created earlier. So with the help of this variable that we have created in our controller, we will be able to access this particular save details function. Okay, so it will be dot save details. Within that, we will be pass the student variable. Okay, so that's the code. So now let me explain you how this works in a simple term. Okay, so I'll just close these things. Only the main thing is going to be controller and the service. Okay, rest are just standard stuff. So I will go to my postman. So I'll just explain it in a demo way. After that, I will run and show you. So we'll be adding the local host, the student, the path. After that, we will like have a JSON data, and whenever we hit send, this particular path slash student will be hit. Okay, so after hitting that, it will come over here. This path will be like, it will check whether we are having this add student path. So this particular path that we have sent in postman matches with this path. So it will come over here, and we are having the request body annotation with the student object. Okay, so this data that we have sent over here will be now present inside the student variable, this variable, with the help of this request body annotation. So after this student variable will be having these values. It will come over here. Here you can see it's student service dot save details student. So basically we are passing all this data to the save details function, which is present inside our service. Okay, so now I will go to my service, this particular save details function. So I will go here. The save details function is also having a parameter of student. Okay, so now this student will be referenced to as this student over here. Okay, it's like function calls basically. So what happens is that this data will now come to the function save details present inside our service from the controller. So it's like that. It's from the postman data to our controller function. From the controller function, it goes to our service function, and in the service function, we are just saving it with the help of dot save through our repo, like the repository variable that we have created earlier. So because of this dot save, it gets then saved in our MySQL workbench or database table. So this is the entire workflow. Okay, so this is how it will work. So now let me just run and show you this program. Okay, just come to this Spring Pro application. That is the main file. If you aren't having this run thing, just right click it and you just click on run project. And if you aren't having this edit configurations, I will just open it. So yeah, this is my edit configuration. Here you need to specify the Java, the main thing, and here you need to specify the working directory. So these are the standard stuff, and I will just now close it. And now in my database, okay, so this is my database. I will go to tables. I'm having only my table, so I'm not having the table, any table named as student. So here in entity, right, we have specified the table name to be as student DB. So if this program runs successfully, we need to get the student DB automatically created over here, and after that we will be sending some data from our postman. So I will just now run the code. I hope it works. Lot of effort into it. I don't want to get any errors right now. So I will run it. So after some time, you will be getting some logs like this. And if you get this final thing as Spring application started, so which means that there aren't any errors. And here you can see, right, we will be getting some SQL commands over here as well. So here you can see, right, create table student DB. So if I just now go to my MySQL workbench, and if I just now refresh it, so here you can see that I will be having the student DB over here. So if I just now go to my select asterisk from, I will just run student, and I will go with underscore DB. And if I just now run it, we will be having 3 columns, which is going to be of type ID, ST, mark, and name. So here you can see, right, where is that? Yeah, this particular name that I've specified over here will be directly coming to the column name, as simple as that. And another important thing you need to note here is that the port number on which your Spring Boot application is running. So if I just now come here, so here you can see, right, our Spring Boot has now started on port 8080. So this is like the default port. So now let's see what happens when we some post data from our postman, because that's our aim over here. We need to save data. Currently our table is empty. So for that, this is the port, okay? So just copy this 8080. So this is like a default port. So I will just come to my postman, and here we need to change this port to 8080. Okay, important thing. I will say you the important thing what we need to do. So it's going to be localhost colon 8080, and here we are going to do post data. So just click here the operation and change it to post. Really important thing, many people won't do that. And after that you need to come to body, and it will be none at default, I guess. Body none. You need to go to raw after that, and you need to have like this, okay, the format. I'm inserting here only name and mark values because my ID is auto-generated. As I told you, right, my ID value is auto-generated because of this generated value annotation. So that's the reason why I'm not referencing ID over here. I'm having only name and mark values sent as a request body. So you need to have raw, have name within double quotes, hello within double quotes, mark key within double quotes, and since 100 is of type int, no need double quotes to that. Okay, be careful there as well. After that, here also important thing, you need to have this type as JSON. Okay, you need to change this to JSON. I think it will be text by default. If you put text, it will give an error. So I have it as JSON, another important thing. And I think, yeah, that's it. These are the important things. Operation, and you need to change the path as well. So the path that we have specified in our controller, where is controller? Yeah, student controller. This particular path should come over here. You need to be careful with the cases as well. So I will just change it to some meaningful name. Okay, I will just put not meaningful, hello, hi, something like that, like this. And I will go with 1000 as the mark, some random thing. If I just now send it, so it's sending request. Yeah, so we have got the result over here. So we have got the result as a response because we are like returning it. Okay, here you can see that we have returned that particular thing, and we have got this thing. And if I just now go to my MySQL table and run it, so here you can see that I've got the value 1, which is auto generated. I'm not sending ID over here. So now we are done with posting data, and I've also like posted some few rows over here. So now let's go to the main part of the video, which is finding the minimum and maximum value. All right, so I'll just go to my IntelliJ, and let me just now close everything. Okay, so for finding the maximum and minimum value, we will be making 3 changes. Okay, 3 changes in 3 files. The first important change that we are going to make is in our repository, because in Spring Boot, I think we don't have any direct inbuilt function to find the maximum or minimum value present in a column. So for example, in my service, if I go here, we're having this save inbuilt function, right? So like that, we don't have any find by max or something. So we need to write here a MySQL custom query to find the maximum value. Don't worry, it's going to be so simple. All right. So first thing, you need to go to your repository, all right, student repo that we have created, and this we need to write a simple MySQL query. Okay, select maximum column name from that particular entity name. So this is going to be our query. So let me do that. So first let me write the query, and we will be mapping that query to a function. Alright. So we'll be using the query annotation at, we will be having this query, and this will have a argument as value, and inside this value within double quotes we need to specify our MySQL query, which is going to be select. Write it in caps so that you have like a better understanding and readability. Select max. Max is an inbuilt function in MySQL to find the maximum value in a column. Within that, here we need to specify the column that is in our table for which we are going to find the maximum value. Alright, so let me just go to my entity, and this is my mark column. So I want to find the maximum value of my mark, okay, this column. So for this you need to use this particular variable name, okay. Don't use the column name, which I have this st underscore mark. Don't use this. We need to use this particular variable name that we have mapped with our column. So it is going to be mark, and you need to put mark in the exact same way that you have specified there. It needs to be in lowercase if you have specified there. So here I'm having it in lowercase, and after that select mark from, and here you need to specify the class name, okay, not the table name. Don't go and specify here this name, table name student underscore db. You need to specify the class name of that entity that you have mapped with your table. So I'm having the student, right? So I'll just put here exact same way. The case should be same. Be careful there. S is capital and rest are small. Okay, that's it. This is basically our query. You can just manipulate like however the way you want. In case if you want to display the entire row of that particular maximum value, you can also do that. Just you need to make changes in the query over here. So this is simple. And next thing, we will be accessing this query by mapping it with the function. So let me just have that function. Okay, so it's going to be public, and here you need to specify the return type of this particular query. So basically what this query will do, select maximum from mark column. All right, so this will return basically 100. In my case this will return 100. And what is the data type of this particular mark column? If I go to my entity, and this mark column has a data type of int. Okay, so you need to specify the return type, the what value this type is going to return. So this is going to be int for me. And in case if you are displaying the entire row, that is going to be an object. That is going to be an object of type student. Okay, in case if you are displaying the entire row, you will put here student. And in case if you are returning name, that is going to be of type string. I really hope that made sense. You are just putting the return type of this particular query. Int, and next thing is going to be our function name. You can just put anything. I will just put here max value. You can name it anything you want, max value. That's it. Now the error will go. So this query is linked to this function, and you need to do this only inside your repository. It is this interface. Okay, so now we are done with our first change in the first file. Next thing we will be going to our, we can do in the controller or student service. Okay, I will just go with the student service. Okay, so inside the service, let me just now copy this, because we are just going to modify the exact same thing that we have done for the post. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. Yeah, and we are not going to return student this time. This is going to be just an integer, because we are just going to return the highest or the smallest mark. And let me just rename it as max detail, and we are not going to take any parameters or arguments, just leave it free. And now we need to access this particular function that you have queried inside our repository. So for accessing that, we will be using the same student repo variable. We have like had it over here, right? We'll be using that exact same thing over here also. So let me just now cut this student repo, have it with a return. Okay, return student repo dot, and you'll be having that particular function name. So here you can see that I'm having this max value. So this max value corresponds to here, exact same thing. Okay, we are accessing this particular function with the help of the student repo object. I hope this made sense. So now we are done. The final change what we will be doing is in our controller, because we need a path. Okay, we need to have a path for accessing our minimum and maximum value. All right, so let me just go to my student controller. This is the third file. I told you, right, 3 files. So let me just write it on my own, and here we are having for that post. So it's going to be public, and the return type is going to be of type integer. Don't put student, and we just put find max. You can name anything over here, doesn't matter. And we are not going to pass any request body from our postman, so just leave it fine. And let me just now open the curly bracket. And another important thing is that this call that we're going to do from postman is going to be of fetch or get type, because we're just going to like extract the maximum and minimum value from the column. We are not going to like pass any request payload or something like that. So I'll just have an annotation over this function as, where is that? Yeah, just have it as at get mapping, which is fetching particular thing. So I'll just have a get mapping over here, and within bracket I will just put find max, something like that. Anything, this can also be anything, not necessary the function and the path should be same. Similarly, yeah, I'm having a post mapping, anything, just a random string, that whatever you want. So now we are done, and next thing is we need to return this. Okay, so it's going to be return, and we will be using that student service variable. Okay, student service variable that we have declared over here. So it's going to be student service, and we'll be accessing the function that we have declared inside our student service. So this is my student service. The function name is max detail. Exactly the same thing that we did for post. It's going to be max detail. That's it. This is a get mapping. Be careful there. So let me just now rerun it. So we need to like save and rerun the program. Don't forget to do that. So in the meanwhile, we can configure our postman. So this is the path. Let me just now copy the path. I will go to my postman. So here we need to make some changes. In the body, we need to select none, because we are not going to like pass any data. Let me just zoom in a bit if you can't see. Control and plus to zoom it. Okay. Yeah. And next thing, we need to change the post to get, because we're just going to fetch data. Really important thing, please change it. And in the path, localhost, your port number, mine is running at 8080, and we have to specify this path over there. So it's going to be slash find max. So I think this is good now, I guess. Yeah, application has started, mine is port 8080. So if I now run that particular call, I need to get 100, just because that is the highest mark for me. So if I just now send it, so here you can see that I'm getting 100 and no errors. So yeah, everything is working fine, no errors over here also. And this is the query that has been executed. So here you can see that select max from student. So this is like the visual query that has run now, so that we are getting the result in our postman. So this is absolutely fine. So now let's do the exact same thing for finding the minimum value. So it's just like copy paste. So I'll just go to my repo. Let me just now copy this and just come here, paste it, value equal to min. Instead of max, you need to change it to min, and here you need to have it as min value. Next thing, we need to go to our service, copy this and paste it, and we need to change it to min detail, and rather than having here max value, this is going to be min value. Okay, that's it. And next I will go to my controller. I will just now copy this and I will just paste it, and it's going to be find min over here. And here also you can just have find min. You can just have both these calls inside the same path also, like find max and min, and you can just like store both the integer values inside an array, and you can just like send it as an list of integers, something like that. You can also just have a single get mapping call and find both the min and max. So I'm just like separating it both. So it's totally up to you. You can just use an array and store both the values and return it as a list or array list, something like that. So yeah, find min, and this is also going to be min detail over here. Yeah, I think I have changed everything to min. So again, restart the application, and this time our path is find min. So we need to make the exact same change in our postman. So it's going to be find min this time, and we need to just wait till our application is getting restarted. Yeah, the application has started, and if I go to my postman and hit this, we will be getting 11, I guess, because 11 is the 11 or 1. Okay, 1 is the least mark, so we need to get 1 in the output. So I'm getting the output as 1 over here, and the reason is because in my column I'm having the least value as 1. So if I refresh it, yeah, 1 is the least value. So this is how you find the minimum and maximum value that is present inside a column in MySQL by using Spring Boot. So do check the playlist of my channel. I've done many videos in C, C++, Java, as well as data operations in MySQL, MongoDB using Node.js and Spring Boot. So check the playlist, subscribe me. Thanks for watching.